Hi, this is Amitha Balachandra. We're doing the 6:30 p.m. show. As always, I must tell you that the chat window is open, so please make sure that you ask your questions in the chat window, and we'll take up that on the course of the conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about firecracker ban that several states have now come up with. Ahead of Diwali, a number of states have banned firecrackers, and the most recent being Karnataka. Let me give you a list of states which have done so. You have Odisha, Delhi, Rajasthan, West Bengal, Karnataka, Haryana, which has said possession and sale of imported firecrackers are illegal. Madhya Pradesh, for instance, has banned firecrackers by foreign companies. In fact, the other information that's come in after this ban, especially in Odisha and Rajasthan, is that Tamil Nadu Chief Minister wrote to Rajasthan and Odisha asking those states to revoke the ban, as 90% of the manufacturing actually happens in Tamil Nadu, and people in Sivakasi are not happy with this decision. And the fact that it provides direct and indirect employment to 8 lakh people. Additionally, traders in Delhi have also now decided to approach the Lieutenant Governor seeking relief, as they have already bought firecrackers and stored, they say, and all of that is going to go to waste. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're going to talk about how harmful these firecrackers are. What about green crackers, for instance, where some of them have said that perhaps green crackers should be used? Whether other states should follow suit, and especially at the time of COVID, how harmful are these firecrackers, not just for COVID 19 patients, but also people who are healthy, for instance. And to have that discussion with me, I have Dr. Sanjeev Mehta, who's the chief pulmonologist at Leelavati Hospital, Mumbai, joining me right now. Dr. Mehta, many thanks for making time and speaking to us. I want to begin by asking you this. How much of a problem does bursting firecrackers actually cause to COVID 19 patients? Let's start with COVID 19 patients and then move on to healthy patients.
Hi. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for taking this topic because it is such an important topic, so relevant at this time when we have these two big problems in front of us. And especially for our patients who have breathing difficulty, these are two huge problems. Your first question is directed towards COVID 19 patients, and I will break it up into a few parts. First is for whether patients will have an increased propensity to get COVID 19. Second is whether patients who already have COVID 19 are going to be at a greater harm. And third is patients who are post COVID 19. So I don't have great data to suggest whether bursting firecrackers will increase the chance of you and me getting it, except that there is some information out there that people who are smokers have a greater chance of getting COVID 19 because they have more of the angiotensin converting enzymes on the surface of the lungs. So there's a greater chance that the virus can attach. I think, in a very generic way, if a person has got a weak lung, I'm sure the chances of that person, where weak means damaged because of firecrackers or any form of smoke, then that person is at a greater likelihood of getting the disease. So I think, yes, people have a greater chance of getting it. What worries me is if a patient who is already COVID 19 infected now gets exposure to to firecracker smoke, he'll cough more. If that person coughs more, he or she is going to throw out more virus. And so he or she is going to spread the virus much more. What I think we should be really looking at, if you look at the numbers, I think the last numbers were we had about 85 lakh patients, right? 85 lakh infection. But where most people miss the point, out of that 85 lakhs, the active cases may be only few lakhs. That means 80 lakhs are post-COVID. Now, that is our big problem. Even if 5% of these are post-COVID lung fibrosis, then we have a huge epidemic of post-COVID lung fibrosis. Now, these people, and I was just doing consultations as you were talking to me, of people who've had COVID, of which 5 or 10% of them will get permanent lung damage. Now,
Okay.
these people are all raw in the lungs, and this post COVID lung patients are going to get a lot of discomfort because of the exposure to chemicals and bad air.
Hmm.
Now, whether you say it is this bad air or that bad, ultimately, air that has got suspended particulate matter, any air that has got dissolved chemicals like sulfur dioxide, is unhealthy for everybody. So, in summary, yes, greater chance of getting COVID. Patients with COVID will have more chance of spreading it. Post COVID patients are going to be greatly distressed and uncomfortable and may need to come back to hospital depending on how bad their lungs were. And that is a very large number. It's a huge number. 5% of 1 crore is, I think, 5 lakh patients. So I think we are
Hmm.
really looking at a very large number of patients who are
Hmm.
post COVID and
I
really
also
not people talking about it. Sorry, go
Yes.
ahead.
So one is, of course, post-COVID patients, you said, and also the fact that this will only aggravate the situation even further for COVID-19 patients. And with regard to this, that there are articles, there are reports, including scientists saying that long-term exposure to air pollution may increase COVID death risk. Is that a worry as well?
I think we are see they've written there exactly. This causes more severe COVID and age to depleted lungs, increasing the likelihood of poor outcomes. As I
Hmm.
told you, the more the inflammation, more the this risk of the virus getting attached more.
Hmm.
So therefore, yes, long-term exposure increases the risk, and that is quite clear. But long-term exposure to pollution, polluted air, is of course bad. That we know that it does everything. It
Yes.
causes COPD, it causes exacerbation of asthma, it increases lung infections, and any lung infection. And we know this from the last probably 25 years or 30 years that every winter people get more viral attacks. COVID is a
Hmm.
virus. We are in the winter.
Hmm.
So, of course, they're going to get it.
Hmm.
And
And one of the questions, yes.
sorry, we've known this for so long. There's nothing new about it. So I think you're right. Your warning is very timely.
Hmm. And one of the questions that's come in then from Sheldron is it worth lifting the ban? What, in your opinion, is the case for all of these states which have now banned firecrackers? Not just that, some of the states are warning people, but that's not going to be a strong deterrent, is it?
Yeah, I mean, these should have been banned long ago. And I don't see any logic in lifting the ban. If they've
Hmm.
had the guts to do it, they should follow up with it. And I had some ridiculous thing banned only for 7 days in these. They should be banned permanently. It's something we don't need for the rest of our lives. Nobody needs more pollution for the rest of our lives. So I think to answer your question, that their banned is good. The ban
Hmm.
should not be lifted. It
Hmm.
should stay banned.
And a couple of questions that I want to ask. There is talk about green firecrackers. For instance, obviously, Tamil Nadu people in Tamil Nadu, especially in Sivakasi, are extremely unhappy with this decision that Odisha and Rajasthan, Karnataka, and other states have taken. They have said, and I'm quoting the Manufacturers Association, they've said only illegally imported fireworks from China have such harmful Indian fireworks are not mainly I mean, they don't have these bad chemicals. They're saying that mainly nitrogen. What's your, response to this?
So I'll answer that in two parts. First of all, I don't have the exact breakdown of
Hmm.
the chemical composition of one firecracker versus the other. So my comments cannot be very exact and very scientific.
Hmm.
That being said, the bottom line is that whenever there is, I mean, every smoke, every particulate matter, every chemical, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, all of them are bad. So anything that creates fire is going to create smoke. I'm not, you may say one smoke has less of these suspended particulate matters, but it's yet going to be there. I'm
Hmm.
not able to comprehend that anything that is creating smoke is going to be good for the environment or good for the people. It may be
Hmm.
less harmful, but as we normally say, the one The so which is the least harmful cigarette? The cigarette that was never lit.
Hmm.
So, you can sit down. I mean, this has been well established by science. You can keep talking about this cigarette is better, that cigarette is better, this menthol is better. Ultimately, the only cigarette that is safe is the one that was never lit. I think the only cracker that is safe is a cracker that was never lit. I mean, you can
Okay.
buy them and keep them for decoration purposes. And
So it doesn't matter what firecrackers, whether they're being imported, whether they're being manufactured here, whether they're green, none of that matters, especially
any
during COVID,
form
I
of
think.
smoke to me is something I cannot support as a doctor in
Yes.
chest medicine.
Okay.
I mean,
All right.
even candles. I stopped agarbattis. I stopped this. I mean, I don't support the use of agarbattis because there are patients who really get a pretty significant problem. But so I can't support the green versus the non-green, India versus Chinese
But
logic.
have you
I think
seen an increase? Have you seen an increase in the number of patients? Perhaps, I mean, we know that Dashera got over. There's Diwali coming up. Of course, we'll have to see how things pan out in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And the problem is perhaps far more in Delhi, for instance, right now, which is got really bad air quality. But have you seen an increase in the number of patients? Because the
so.
symptoms are similar.
No, you're right. I think we're beginning to now. So for it is crazy. 8 months we didn't see an asthmatic, and we wonder what happened to their asthma. I think it is the air quality that was great. We didn't get our asthmatics or COPDs. They should have been coming to us. In the pandemic, they were all locked up at home. Fantastic. They were not coming out at all. But
Hmm.
then suddenly in the last like 10 or 15 days, my asthmatics are coming back, my old COPD patients are coming back. And this is in spite of there being no significant bursting of firecrackers so far. So I
Hmm.
think as the pollution is kicking in, our patients are getting affected and they're now coming back to us with their non. So for the last 8 months, we were completely submerged in COVID. We are
Hmm.
now beginning to see non-COVID patients with their asthmas and COPDs coming back. So already this less level of pollution compared to last year, this is much less.
Hmm.
Yet we are giving to see patients. So if imagine if it got full blown, it would be terrible.
All
So
right.
I, yeah.
Yes. In fact, Varun has written in saying, and thank you so much for the contribution, Varun. He said firecrackers manufacturing must be banned forever, not good for anything, and have worst impact beyond COVID. Also, those who burst crackers must try directly burning their money, he says. But I also want to ask this question. There was a letter that went in as far as West Bengal was concerned, and we'll put up that article as well. Medical associations urged that firecrackers be banned, and then, of course, it was banned much later on. And there are a few states which have banned. Do you believe that across the country, medical associations must go ahead and ask respective governments to do that? Do you believe other states should also follow suit?
Yes, I think so. And it is the medical associations, especially chest medicine, that has
Hmm.
been at the forefront of getting the cigarette ban. I think if we should go similarly for the ban or at least reduction in any form of pollution,
Hmm.
firecrackers is just one of them.
Hmm.
I mean, listen, firecracker is probably the lesser of the two evils. The bigger one is stubble burning.
Hmm.
I mean, all the firecrackers together probably don't create as much pollution as one day of stubble burning in the north of the country.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Stubble
good to
burning, in fact,
ban.
yes, that's in fact added to 40% this time around. Pollution is what reports are saying, but of course that's not the only source of pollution. There are other sources of pollution like vehicular pollution, construction, etc. Also, what's your word of advice to people who are watching right now, especially in other states where firecrackers are not banned, who are thinking, oh, maybe should I perhaps turn towards green crackers or perhaps use something else?
So my advice has not changed for the last 20, 25 years.
Hmm.
There's no benefit, only harm in exposure to any form of smoke. And that is unwavering, solid, straight. uncompromising advice, and I don't think I can be more honest and straightforward than this.
Mm.
Every form of smoke, and we've campaigned against chula smoke, against burning of firewood, against burning of stubble, against burning of firecrackers, against any form of smoke, completely and totally against it. And my advice remains the same,
Correct.
unflinching.
So avoid burning firecrackers if your state has not banned firecrackers already. But the good thing is that some states have done that, and Dr. Mehta, they're saying that perhaps other states should also follow suit. And air pollution combined with COVID could be a disaster, and not just for COVID patients, but also post-COVID patients as well. And that's something that we should think about. Dr. Mehta, thank you so much for joining us, and for people who are watching, stay safe. Thanks for watching.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Have a good Diwali without crackers.